There is a king who will come from the south. Ameni, true of voice is his name. He is the son of a woman of the land of the bow. He is a child of the heartland of Nekhem. He will take up the white crown. He will rise up the red crown. He will unite the two mighty goddesses, for he will appease the two Lord gods with what they desire. The field circuit in his grasp, the oar in the jump, and the Greeks ready to be banished from the shores of Kemet itself. It was the year 272 BCE. The world had been alit with flames. For Egypt, Atlantis, the Amazonians had made their resurgence. And some of the civilizations, their successors, the Romans, the Greeks, the Parthians, the Arabians, felt threatened. They felt threatened by these emergence of these grand old civilizations that had once long been presumed to have been dead. Now, Imhotep, one of the satrapies of the Ptolemaic court, had betrayed the Greeks. Now Imhotep, Pharaoh of Kemet. The questions had been asked. Where had he come from? Was he a son of the royal family of the priests of Egypt? Or was he the son of the famous 25th dynasty of Egypt that had once been destroyed? There had been many rebellions during the Ptolemaic rule of Egypt, and the native Egyptians had never liked the fact that the Greeks were ruling over them. To the Egyptians, they were always barbarians. To the native Egyptians, of course. But this new pharaoh called Imhotep had once been praised and was now ready to take on the reins of the Kemetic regime. With this regime, with this new established kingdom of Egypt once again, he would restore the glory of Egypt. He would bring back Egypt to the day of its glory. And that meant destroying the Greeks, removing them from Egypt. But that also caught the ire or the ire of the Kushites and the Oxumites, who wanted to reclaim the glory of Egypt for themselves, to reclaim that they were the true Egyptians, not these Egyptians who had been suppressed by their Greek overlords. And in a manner of speaking, that was true. But Imhotep wanted to claim the crown of the two lands, and he proclaimed to the people of Memphis and of Thebes that the Egyptians were the real legitimate rulers. The Greek pharaohs had no claim to the two crowns, no matter even if they worshipped the gods of Egypt. For the gods had visited Imhotep in his dream, and Imhotep told the audience, the crowd that was gathered at the capital city of Thebes, of his dream to unite Egypt.
Best keep my mouth closed.
The sound of elephants roared in the temple of Imhotep's sacred mind. The howling of sand screeched into his ears. It pushed against him. Rumbling of heavy footsteps made Imhotep shake his legs on the dissolving sand waves he stood upon. The surface of the desert rose and fell, forming walls of sand and then dissolving them. He breathed heavily. The gods would let him pass into Aru, the sacred afterlife of Egypt. No longer would his soul be tortured by all who opposed him.
Do you cry out our names in vain?
Scorn! Scorn! You refuse to bend your heads!
Do you honor the sacred rites?
Shout, scream, murder in the temples.
Imhotep had his hands full to reclaim the glory of Egypt. No longer would his soul be tortured by those that insulted him, especially by his wife, Ankh-Nusamun, or by his brother, who he had killed in order to reclaim the throne of Kemet. Even Imhotep knew that Osiris would judge his enemies in the halls of truth. After that, it was none of Imhotep's concern. A storm of wind passed through his armor, like Apophis, devourer of the world. Imhotep unsheathed the golden rectangular shield of Mat, the provider of justice, guiding the shield with his right hand. Guiding the shield with his right hand, he pushed to return to the mortal world. Sand assaulted his face, taking the shapes of wild hyenas and hoplites in Greek phalanxes that laughed and shouted at him and jeered at him. Imhotep slammed the shield into a wild sand hyena, and the hyena dissolved into the air. Unsheathing his sword, he breathed heavily, for the gods were forcing him to return to the mortal world. But Imhotep knew that he had to go to the statue of Ramesses, and he would go to the statue of Ramesses and look him in the eye. Imhotep swore that he would not shame his ancestors like previous pharaohs before him had done so. Was a pharaoh worthy of the ancestors that had come before him? He needed Ramesses' blessing so that he could drive the barbarians away from Egypt, just as his ancestors had done when the Hyksos had arrived into Egypt, like the glory of Egyptians before. A line of golden and granite statues of Horus, Ra and Osiris stood towering above Imhotep in the fields of reed in our room. Imhotep felt small, a small ant in the eye of Ra's creation. A light flashed, blinding him. Imhotep moved slowly, peering over the shield's edge. The gate of Aru had opened, towering much taller than him, yet shaped in a rectangular gate. A bright light flashed into the sky, and the world stopped for a moment. Imhotep was taken aback, as he could see everything was frozen in time. Nothing moved. A white jackal appeared in front of him, large, wearing strands of golden armor. Waves of red ribbon turned and floated around the Lord of the Duat. Imhotep bowed. Anubis said these words, holding the scale of Imhotep's heart, and he said, "Go forth and banish the Greeks that rule Egypt. Restore glory to the gods, and the gods will make sure that your dynasty will live forever in Aru. Fail in that mission, and you will be devoured by Apophis forever. What say you, Imhotep, Pharaoh of Kemet?" In the following years to come, the Kemetic Egyptian faction expanded to Myos Homos after the Kushites had managed to take it, and there was a series of successive wars between Kemet, Egypt, and Aksum. While Imhotep had to deal with a lot of political turmoil and revolts and so much more, there he died. His wife left him, and there were many political situations to happen. Now the new pharaoh of Egypt was defending Myos Homos. And while General Apis was making sure that the Kushites wouldn't attack them, he was presenting his own form of strategy. Basically put, Egypt was under conquest by Sarim. The Kushites were trying to take Thebes, as they had always done. The whole world had declared war on Egypt. And so with Ra's blessing, General Apis would make sure that the Aksumites would be defeated. This was going to be a war not just of successive battles, but it was a war for the heart and soul of Egypt itself. This war would be fought against the world, and Egypt would have to prove to the gods that they were the ones that were worthy of destroying the enemy. And if that were the case, then Egypt would succeed. With a series of successive battles, the Aksumite had been driven back. Now, Apis intended to capture the Kushites in an ambush. The Kushite commanders had been too clever. They had always won battles that were never meant to be won, and now a great battle was about to be fought, where the Kushites outnumbered the native Egyptians. The question was, would the Egyptians win? And who would win? And the Kushites were fighting and fighting. And it came to the point where the penultimate battle between Kush and Kemet would be decided in a clash of fates. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, share, comment and subscribe for more episodes like this within the future.